Star Wars 7x7 episode 2297. Disney just announced a big corporate restructuring situation, and a lot of it revolves around content. So what does this mean for the future of Star Wars storytelling? Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, Disney, as I said at the top, announced a big corporate restructuring, and one of their big goals for this is to make the most of Disney Plus, for all intents and purposes. I mean, they didn't say specific numbers or anything like that, and they're not talking about future projections, but what they did say is that the performance of Disney Plus so far has exceeded their expectations across the board and month after month, and good for them. And so this new restructuring is taking place to try to best take advantage of the success they're seeing with Disney Plus and their other streaming platforms. So of course they have Hulu and they have ESPN doing streaming things, but also because things are changing with the way that we're consuming entertainment and, in the wake of the pandemic and what's happened with movie theaters and all that. So this is a response to those things evolving. So basically what they decided to do was create multiple content production silos within Disney and then have distribution look at all of that stuff separately and decide what's the best way to monetize this stuff. So they decided to divide things into a sports category, which we're not going to talk anymore about here on the show, and then a studio content category and a general entertainment category. And we're going to dispense pretty quickly with the general entertainment category. The way it's described as is that it'll focus on creating general entertainment, episodic and original long-form content for the company's streaming platforms and its cable and broadcast networks. The group will include the content engines of 20th Television, ABC Signature and Touchstone Television, ABC News, Disney Channels, Freeform, FX, and National Geographic. So that part will not affect Lucasfilm either. The part that does is the studio content section, which, according to this news report, will focus on creating branded theatrical and episodic content based on the company's powerhouse franchises for theatrical exhibition, Disney Plus, and the company's other streaming services. This group will include the content engines of the Walt Disney Studios, including Disney Live Action and Walt Disney Animation Studios, Pixar Animation Studios, Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Studios, and Searchlight Pictures. So in a nutshell, they're saying that if you're going to look for new Star Wars content, it's going to be in theaters and on Disney Plus. That's where it's going to be. You're not going to see a television show for Star Wars on broadcast cable or anything like that. It'll all be streaming or in theaters. And the whole theater exhibition thing, well, that's kind of questionable. We saw what happened with Mulan, and Pixar's Soul is going to be released not in theaters but on the streaming platform. So yeah, the near future is definitely a streaming service future and not an in theaters exhibition situation. Hopefully a couple of years down the line, if we get a vaccine for the coronavirus that we can all take and we can all trust, then maybe we'll feel safe going to theaters again. Or we'll just, open up more drive-ins. Wouldn't that be fun? But it does seem like this is where we're headed. And yet, it's still far enough out. The first Star Wars movie that's scheduled to be coming is scheduled to be coming in December of 2023. So, let's hold out hope that we can get back into the theaters in time for that. But what does that mean for us in the short term in terms of Star Wars storytelling? Well, I will share that with you in just a second. Just a quick reminder to please rate or review the podcast on iTunes if that is your podcast app of choice. There have been hundreds of ratings and reviews given, and I'm so grateful for them. And it really does help. It helps more people find Star Wars 7x7 more easily when they're searching for Star Wars podcasts, or as I like to say, a daily dose of Star Wars joy. So if you've done it already, thank you so much. And if you haven't, I hope you will take a moment to do it today. Thank you for considering it. So, in Variety, both Jon Favreau and Pedro Pascal have been interviewed recently, and there was some conversation First of all, about a Mandalorian movie, which both of them say they are open to and into the idea, and yet, there are caveats, of course. Like, for example, it has to be done right, for one thing. And Favreau says that they're not in a rush to do it or anything like that. But before that happens, they have to get started on season 3 of The Mandalorian, which, in this Variety piece, Jon Favreau says that they are on schedule to start production before the end of the year. He's not giving a specific date, but he's saying before the end of the year, after Pedro Pascal wraps shooting for a film called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, which already sounds like a really fun movie just from the title itself. And as far as the pandemic goes, Favreau says, we're operating under the assumption that we'll be able to go forward. That's a direct quote. The article goes on to say that Favreau notes the innovative production technique pioneered for The Mandalorian with wall-sized video panels for location backdrops puts the show in a unique position within the industry. And then it goes on to quote him directly again. We're in very small situations, and oftentimes we have a lot of characters and masks. We also have a lot of digital work that augments things, so we're a show that's probably well equipped to be flexible based on the protocols that are emerging surrounding work restarting. And that's really good news, not just because, we all want more Star Wars, but because these are people who have, livelihoods. And it's not just, the high-paid Jon Favreau's and Pedro Pascal's. It's all the crew members who help make these things possible, make these stories possible. These are people who have their own work, have to make their own livelihoods, and having them have the opportunity to get safely back to work is fabulous. So that is wonderful news, and I hope that it continues on the path where they can get production started before the end of the year. And that is where we're going to leave things for the show today. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.